Not quite 2:30, about a minute to go. Oh, hello, Lisa. Good to have you on. That's great. Wow, you're right on time, girl. Just coming in like a minute or two early to get ready for everybody and showing you the beautiful cherry blossoms here in Vancouver. Thought I'd start filming a little bit early so you can see these. Very pretty. It's lovely, yeah? Love those. Actually, they're very late this year. This is April, and normally we have them in March. So it's been a bit chilly. Look at that. That's pretty nice, huh? And that, by the way, folks, is Trump Tower. A brand new Trump Tower. I know you can't wait to get in there. All right, I'm gonna keep, I'm just gonna hang on for a little while. Hope you can hang on with me. We're gonna just wait for about another 2 to 3 minutes for some folks to join us. In the meantime, if you drop out and you want to come back, just you can do that. Remember, please share this show with all the people on your list, your friends, your followers, your fans. That would be really cool if you can do that. I'd really appreciate it. And I'm just going to run across this red light. And so if you come in, like I said, say hello, let us know where you are, let us know where you're coming in from. Always good to know that. Hey Lisa, how are you, girl? Let's just start with you. Hope you're doing well. I know you and I have got to catch up. It's been a little on the insane side of things for me. I don't know how it's been for you. But we will schedule sometime, you and I, to reconnect as we need to go through that. It's important. I've not forgotten that. Laugh my ass off, okay. Great sunshine, great view. Like I said, bit hectic, bit loony. Lots of crazy shit going on. But it's good. It's good. Have a few moments here and there where I think I might lose the plot, but generally speaking, it's good. I'm just waffling on for a little while everybody comes in, and I'm going to turn that camera around in about 30 to 40 seconds. If you are coming in and you're looking at the view, thank you for coming in. Please let me know that you're there, because I cannot see you until you put up, either hit the one of those lovely emoticons with the applause or the kisses or the hearts or one of those other fun ones. I really appreciate when you do that. And by the way, if you do that while I'm speaking, it's never a put off. It's always really great. And hit the share button. Share it with everybody you know. All right, I'm gonna flip the camera around in just a few seconds. I try to put my coffee down so that I can do that. Just give me a moment. Let's do this. And there we are. Cheers, folks. Dov Baron, full Monty leadership here with a little cafe on my walk. And Lisa is in from, where's she in from today? Bangkok. Yeah, you know, we don't need to hear your dirty stories, girl. So listen, I'm all trimmed up and ready to go for you. Had a fresh haircut for the occasion. And now we're here. So, as you come on, say hello. And I'll just introduce myself. In case you don't know, and you're just coming in, my name is Dov Baron. I'm the founder of FullMontyLeadership.com. I am a leadership speaker, cited by Inc. magazine as one of the top 100 leadership speakers in the world today. Very grateful for that. And also, I am a leadership consultant, work one-on-one and with large amounts of teams to help them develop corporate cultures that are deeply authentic and purpose-driven, as we like to say, coming to discover the soul of your business and the soul of who you are. So that's what we do. Of course, you can find me on YouTube, which you might be watching this on right now. YouTube channel is Dov Baron Full Monty Leadership. On Facebook, Dov Baron Leadership. On Twitter, at the Dov Baron. And LinkedIn, Dov Baron. And iTunes, Dov Baron Leadership and Loyalty Tips for Executives. So all those outlets, of course, I write for Entrepreneur Magazine, Medium, and I think BuzzFeed, and I think about 10 other outlets now. So you can find me all over the show if you want to. That would be great. And please share the show with everybody you know. All right, enough of the waffling on. Let's get into it. Leadership Unscripted. Welcome to Dov Baron's Leadership Unscripted show. On this episode, we're going to look at the 4 paradoxes of attracting really great people and actually repelling really great people. Okay, so let's jump into this, because as you may know, my last book was called Fiercely Loyal. And in that book, Fiercely Loyal, we talked about how the cutting-edge, high-performing organizations, what they do to attract, develop, and keep their top talent. What is it that they're doing that other companies are not doing? Because so many companies are struggling to keep their top people. Now, I want to say this, but I want you to understand that this is not exclusive to business. This is true for you as a human being. This is true for you as a friend. This is true for you as a salesperson. This is true for you in any possible way. These same 4 paradoxes work across the board, and I want you to have a sense of that, get a grasp of what that actually means to you, so that you can use it to your greatest possible advantage. So, put your hand up. Think about this. How many of you want to have even better people in your life? If you were a fan of the show Will and Grace, I used to actually really love that show. And Will and Grace, and in Will and Grace, they would, Karen, one of the characters, played by Megan Mullally, Karen would be walking along with Will and Grace, and all of a sudden she would take off, and then she'd say, better people. And I always found that very funny. But it's kind of a truth, to take a look at who you actually spend time with, because the truth of the matter is that your future, your success at every possible level has got a heck of a lot to do with the people that you surround yourself with. If you're surrounding yourself with people who are not of the highest quality, who are negative, who are constantly taking a leak on your dreams, people who are in some way working against you, disengaged with you as a leader, or actively disengaged, meaning promoting other people that they stop working with you or supporting you, you need to make sure that you've got great people surrounding you at all times. This is vital. We've got to surround ourselves with outstanding human beings. And, it's going to raise our standard. If you put yourself with people who you evaluate are at a place where you want to be, you're going to lift to that level. You're going to surround yourself with people. And here's the fact. Bottom line, people raise or lower to the level of their peers. If you surround yourself with people who are broke, complaining, unhealthy, struggling, after a while, even if you're the most positive person on the planet, you're going to find yourself broke, complaining, struggling, all the things that they are. However, it's also true on the other side. If you surround yourself with outstanding people who are succeeding, who are stepping up, who are doing magnificent things, you're going to find yourself doing exactly that as well. You're going to find yourself stepping up to that next level. So these are the challenges that happen around us having relationships, but having people in our lives. Okay, so let's start into the 4 paradoxes of attracting and repelling amazing, great people, right? So first thing is this. The first thing is this word, paradox. Now, what do I mean by that? When you think about what a paradox is that it's an opposite in the same thing. What do I mean? Well, the things I'm going to go through are the very things that will repel people away from you, but they're also the things that will attract amazing people to you. So I'm going to go into the first one and you'll see exactly what I mean. So the first of these paradoxes that are you're going to find yourself, maybe that you're the kind of personality who's always wanting to make sure things are under control. You like that predictability. You like to know that you can predict the way it's going to be. You like to, you're a very stable person. And that can be amazingly attractive to people, of course, who like stability. For people who love to know, the 9 to 5, they love to know that they can rely on certain things, that it's going to be a certain way, and that nobody's going to mess with that. So, if you're the kind of person who loves that certainty, loves that control, loves to be able to always have things sort of nailed down and know where they're going to go, that's how you're going to operate. The challenge with it is this: you are definitely going to attract people who are also that way. You're going to attract those people who are going to be like, oh yeah, this is aligned with who I am. There's a values match with who you are. The challenge with it is this: that some of the greatest people you could want are not like that at all. They're very different than that. And in fact, what I would put to you is that if you're a business person, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a salesperson, if you're a leader, you actually need to surround yourself with people who are not like you. That's one of the important things. One of the greatest mistakes we make is that we are very attracted to people who are like us. But if you want to be better, you've got to actually surround yourself with people who are not like you, who are going to bring you a different perspective, who are going to show you how to operate a little bit differently than you normally would. So, if you are the kind of person who needs that security, and you need to be able to nail things down, and you need to be able to predict things, you need to have things under control at every possible turn, you are going to attract more people like that. But you're also going to repel people who are highly creative, who don't like that much structure, who don't like that much predictability. So the first paradox is the paradox of control and certainty, predictability. If you're operating from that, you're going to attract exactly that kind of person, but you're also going to repel people who are the opposite to that, people who you very well may need to make your organization better. Now, if you're watching this and you're getting something out of it already, please hit those emoticons and hit the share button. Share the show with everybody you know. We want to make sure you share the wealth and that everybody gets a ton out of this. Even if you're watching this back as an encore and you're just coming in now or whatever it might be, share the show with everybody you know. It's important to me. I really appreciate it. And it's a way to share the wealth. Okay, so the next piece is this. So now we've got the first paradox is this attract repel that comes from certainty. It comes from predictability, it comes from control. The second paradox is exactly the opposite. If you're the kind of person who doesn't like structure, you're the kind of person who is a high creative, you're the kind of person who likes things to be a little bit more unpredictable, just generally speaking, you enjoy the adventure of that, then you are going to attract more of those people around you. Now, that may be cool, that may be exciting for you as an adventurer, for the people in your life. However, as a leader, in whatever form that is, you need people who are structured. You need people who can do those kinds of things. You need people who can, well, here's the formula, here's the format, here's what you need to do. And you actually, if you're always operating in that place of great high creativity, if you're operating in that place of unpredictability, if you're operating in that place of uncertainty, then you are going to repel the people you need around you who have the kind of structure you need. So again, as leaders, we tend to feel attracted to people who are like us, And we tend to dismiss the people who are not like us. But actually a great team, and great friendships for that matter, great relationships, great, quote, posses, or whatever you want to term it, cultures, require people who have many different aspects. You can't have everybody be the same. It doesn't work. So, if you are the person who is driven by uncertainty, and you're driven by that creativity and that variety, that need for those things, you're going to attract more of those people, but you're going to repel the people who are more driven towards structure, and you're going to get in your own way. Okay, is that making sense to you? Tell me if this is making sense to you so far. I'll wait for you. Can you tell me? And again, if you're watching this on Encore, you can hit those emoticons, you can hit the share button, you can let other people know about the show, which is all really great to do. Alright, so now, those are the first two paradoxes, and I'm going to come back to all of them at the end. The third paradox is the paradox. Thank you for all the thumbs up and the hearts and all that, appreciate it. So the third paradox is the paradox of importance and significance, otherwise known as the spotlight. As if you're the kind of person who is that kind of person that you walk into the room and you have a ton of charisma and people are attracted to you because you are sort of this magnetic person, that is a very attractive feature in people, right? That you know, we get very drawn to those kinds of folks. The challenge with it is that those people will often overlook people who are a little bit quieter, and as a result they will underestimate the value of somebody who doesn't need that spotlight, who might be a little bit quieter. I'll give you an example. Yesterday morning I had the honor, the gift of hanging out with one of the top motivational speakers in the world, Charles Marcus. Great guy, wonderful guy. We sat, we chatted. I mean, we had I think we had scheduled like a half an hour chat, and we ended up speaking for like 2.5 hours. It was amazing. He was in town, and so we went and had a coffee together and sat in the Four Seasons, and it was wonderful. Now, Charles Marcus is actually from my hometown, one of the very few people I've met in my travels who is certainly in the same industry as a speaker, who comes from where I came from. As I always say, not many people escape, but he did. And Charles Marcus is probably, you know, based on, you know, if you listen to his story, you go look him up, you'll see that when he started out, when he was a kid, he was extremely quiet. He was not the guy with the spotlight. In fact, he had a very severe stutter. And if you sort of came across him versus the guy who was the class clown, or, you know, the person screaming at the spotlight, you might value him less. You might think that he might even be weak because he doesn't speak up. But that would not be true. That would not be true at all. So he was the guy who would sit and he would observe and he would sort of take it in and evaluate, where other people were simply grabbing the spotlight. So if you are driven, if you yourself are driven to have that spotlight, if you are the kind of person who's looking for that attention, and believe me, by the way, these things are very often unconscious, and I'm giving you these so that you can have the self-knowledge, you can take the awareness and stop and actually say, well, I wonder if I'm like that. Whatever it is in each of these four. Take a look at how you pursue that spotlight, if you're that kind of person. Because if you are, you may indeed be the kind of person who is actually, not necessarily consciously, but maybe even unconsciously, stealing the spotlight, stealing that light from other people, where you may need to give it to another person. You see, if you don't learn how to give the light, give that spotlight to others, what will happen is some of your greatest talent, some of the people you surround yourself with, your friends and your employees and the people you have on your team who are not driven to the spotlight, if you don't acknowledge them, if you don't personally give them the light, they may not need the big round of applause, they may not need to stand on the stage, but if you don't acknowledge them, there's a pretty good chance that they'll go away. Because here's the thing, all human beings need to be acknowledged. We all need to feel significant in the eyes of the people that we care about. So if you are driven by that pull, that need for spotlight, it's very charismatic and you're going to initially attract a ton of people, but you may very likely repel some of the best people from you right after that. So you'll find yourself surrounded with people, but they don't stick. And you're like, well, what is that? How come that? You know, I've always got these people around me and think I'm the best thing since sliced bread, but nobody sticks around. Why is that? Well, that may be that you are attracting them initially and then repelling them later because you don't share the light. So that's the next paradox. That's the third of the four. Now let's go and take a look at the fourth paradox. The fourth paradox is this. You may be the kind of person who believes, feels, acts as if, you know, you're very loving. You want to be very loving. You want to give people tons of, you want to give people affection. You want affection. You want to be very loving towards people. Now, the interesting thing about that is that if you're very loving, of course, you're going to surround yourself with very loving, affectionate, kind, expressive individuals. Is that a bad thing? Of course it's not a bad thing. It's a wonderful thing. It's terrific. However, if you're driven by that, you may, not necessarily will, but you may measure people by your standard. So you may see people as not being loving enough. You may see that people are not loving because they don't love the way you love, or they don't show affection or connection the way you do. But that's not the truth. The truth is that we all have our own unique way of showing love. We have our own unique way of showing that we're connected. And we actually have to find out what that is in the other person. Because as a result, being very loving, you certainly will attract great people to you. That's awesome, who are loving and affectionate. But by their standard, not by yours. So what does that mean? It means that you might very likely have wonderful people around you who are very loving and very affectionate in their mind, but your standard isn't their standard. And what will happen is you will repel them. They will simply go away. They will stop being around you because you've actually repelled them. Now, for some of them, it might feel like you're too much. That's also one of the things that happens. They might feel like you're too much. You're too demanding. Because the other side of that being driven by love and the desire to connect is that it can feel a bit suffocating for some people. It can feel like it's a bit too much for some people. It can feel like they're drowning in it. So it's really important for you to pay attention to that your version of love and connection may not be their version of love and connection. Does that make sense? So those are the four. Now I'm going to go back over them in a minute. I just want you to think about them. Does this make sense to everybody? If you're there, give me the thumbs up, hit the share button, share an emoticon, whatever it is, because I want to make sure that this is landing and connecting for you and you can see the value of it in your own life. Cheers. Well, that settles in and you start thinking about that. Here's a view of the mountains behind me, down here in Cole Harbour, Vancouver. All right, so now we've looked at these four paradoxes. Okay, the first of the paradoxes is this desire to make sure that things are certain, they are controlled, that you can predict them. The second one is the need for things to be a lot of variety, a lot of creativity, a lot of unpredictability, all those kinds of things. The third one was the need for the spotlight, the need to be recognized, the need to be valued, the need to be seen. And the fourth one was the need to connect to others and feel connected and feel loved and feel loving towards others. And every single one of those four is dynamically attractive to people who are like that, and here's the other part, or deeply desire to be like that. Get that? So people who are like that, or people who deeply desire to be that way. The people who deeply desire to be that way, so you'll get people who are just like you. You may also get people who seem quite opposite in that they desire to be that way. They're not like that. But if they feel pressured to be that way, then they will go away again. You'll repel them again. Now here's the interesting thing about it. Each one of us, you, me, every one of us, have all four of those drivers. So you are, in fact, driven for a certain amount of predictability. You are driven to a certain amount of unpredictability. You are driven to have the spotlight, even if you think you're very shy and quiet and don't want it. You are driven to have a sense of love and connection with others. All four of these things you contain, but you likely have a dominant driver. Again, not bad, not good, just a fact. You have all four, and that's fine. What you've got to assess is, first of all, which is the primary driver? What I mean by that is, which one do you fall into most? Which one is your fallback default position? And I'll tell you when it'll show up. It'll show up under stress, we regress. So when you're feeling stressed out, there's a good chance that you'll start operating from that position. You'll start operating from that place of, so if your primary driver is the need for the spotlight and you're feeling stressed, you might find yourself doing a little song and dance with some version of a look at me, look at me. If you are driven, if you're feeling stressed and you are driven for that need to connect and feel loved and loving towards others, you might become quite smothering when you're stressed. If you are driven by that need for things to have a lot of variety and a lot of unpredictability, you might, when you're stressed, you might find yourself getting out there and doing crazy shit, doing adrenaline things, doing things that will put you on the edge. If you are driven by the need for predictability and certainty in certain things, then when you're stressed, there's a very good chance that you'll become overly controlling. You can see how each of these things are wonderful, they're beautiful, they're magnificent, every one of them perfect, terrific, unless they're dominating how you operate in the world. Does this make sense to you? So you've got all four going on inside of you, but you've got one that is dominant. You've likely got a secondary, but all four of them are playing out. So if you want to take a look at what is attracting people to you, what is attracting the best people around you, you've got to make sure that you are paying attention to what they're driven by. Aha! Find out what they're driven by. So for instance, now we'll go a little more generalized and we'll go generational. So what drove baby boomers is very different than what drives millennials. That generation gap has changed the primary driver of an entire generation. See, we live, and I am demonstrating it right now. I am doing a video live on Facebook. We live in the selfie world. Here I am standing here with my selfie stick talking to you on video. And what does that mean? It means it's a look at me. It's a significance thing. That is not me or you. It's now the world we live in. You know, think about, my wife and I were talking about this the other day. We were talking about how we feel so fortunate that we have a photograph from our first date, which was a blind date. And we were saying, you know, how many people have a photograph from their first date? So few. And then I went, no, that's actually not true. How many people our age have a photograph from their first date? Well, that is few. But how many people today have a photograph from their first date? Actually probably have 20, 30, maybe 100 photographs from their first date. Lots of them. Because we're all walking around with cameras. We're all doing selfies. We're all noticing ourselves. So this society that we live in today, this generation, where we are in the place of technology, is actually driven by a lot of need for look at me, significance, spotlight. It's not bad unless it's driving everything. If at every possible turn you have to take a photograph of yourself in every single environment, then you're not actually really present with anybody. Now the interesting thing about it is that, you know, I said that about millennials, that they're driven by a lot of this technology around look at me. But the interesting thing about them is that they also want to do good in the world, that they're very cause-driven. And part of that is the need to rally around with each other, that we want to connect with another group. So a millennial group might be taking a lot of selfies, but they also might be taking selfies and hashtagging causes that they believe in, and rallying around a group that they want to connect with. So as a leader, you have got to find a way to connect those people to you. You've got to find a way to have people connect with each other. You know, so in the work that we do, it's really fascinating because we, of course, will find leaders and cultures of the executive suites that we're working with. And we might find that the CEO is driven by, let's say, that spotlight. It's not true. It's not even a generalization. It's just an example. So we find a CEO is driven by that spotlight. They really want to be seen. They want to be acknowledged. They want to be recognized by that spotlight. And they may have a CFO who is not at all driven by that. Well, it's there, but it's minor. And what they're driven by is this need for predictability. You know, I want to be able to predict the numbers. And it can feel like a clash of personality. And I can remember working with a particular leader and having him walk through each of these four and having that CEO see each of the members of his team through this lens. And the amazing thing was that how clear he got about what was driving each person. And what that did for him was gave him such a greater sense of trust in his people. He suddenly trusted them so much more and understood what was driving them and could communicate with them far clearer, because he now began to understand that they weren't driven by the same things he was, so he could acknowledge and validate what was driving them, and that's what makes the difference. That's what makes people loyal to you. That's what makes people really want to be around you. That's what makes people want to be part of your team and support you in doing what it is that you do and become way more successful and build an amazing team. Part of the challenge we have is we're trying to attract great people, but we think that that means finding more people like us rather than recognizing people where they are. So those are the four paradoxes of attraction and repelling. How to attract the top people, but how you may unconsciously be repelling amazing people from your team, from your friendships, from your life. So that's it, my folks. That's absolutely it. This is Dov Baron at fullmontyleadership.com. Again, I'm encouraging you to share the show with everybody you know. Let's share the wealth. Make sure that everybody gets some great value out of this. And I really hope that you found value in it. And please leave your comments, your feedback, and of course your questions if you have any right here in the comment section. Always great to hear from you. Again, you can find me on Twitter at @TheDovBaron. You can also find me on LinkedIn by my name, DovBaron. You can find me on Facebook, Dov Baron Leadership. You can find me on YouTube, Dov Baron Full Monty Leadership. You can find me on iTunes, Dov Baron's Leadership and Loyalty Tips for Executives, with a #1 show for Fortune 500 and a bunch of other categories. Very grateful for that. And of course, Inc. Magazine recently named us the #1 leadership podcast, so all very cool. And yeah, check us out. Find me around all kinds of places, Entrepreneur, etc. I want to thank you for joining us today. I want to thank you for sharing the show with everybody you know. Until next time, please stay curious, my friend. Stay curious about what you're doing to attract and repel the very best of the people that you could have in your life. Till next time, this is Dov Baron. Say, stay curious, my friend. Stay curious about what drives everybody else, not just you. Till next time, Dov Baron, I am out.